this is a serious asset. It's an infrastructure asset that will need to be looked after from a national interest perspective. One of the most important features of Bitcoin is that it is an immutable ledger that everyone can download. And it's like that journal entry will be on the ledger, on the blockchain in perpetuity, having done that because everyone in Bitcoin to this date follows a pretty similar path. So I'm extremely excited for what lies ahead of all those who haven't bought Bitcoin yet.
Could governments outcompete private Bitcoin miners? Peter Denworth dives into the explosive rise of Bitcoin's hash rate, the looming entry of nation-state miners, and why this could redefine the mining game. But there's more. Learn how to safeguard your Bitcoin wealth against future risks. Stay tuned to uncover strategies that could secure your financial legacy.
The hash rate is a very interesting one. I think there is a nation-state adoption on this. I think nations around the world, if they haven't already figured this out, will at some point in time in the future realise that this is a serious asset. It's an infrastructure asset that will need to be looked after from a national interest perspective. And once that happens, that completely redefines the playing field of the Bitcoin miners. And I think it's going to be very difficult being a private Bitcoin miner versus a public utility like a national energy grid customer. Or run by the government. Government is grossly inefficient. They've effectively got free power or unlimited resources to throw at this. So the efficient Bitcoin miners, the listed Bitcoin miners, are going to have, I think, a very difficult time of it moving forward because they have a cost of capital, and they've got a cost of energy, whereas the nation-state miners, they don't have a cost of capital. They don't have any energy cost to it because they're skimming off the top. Obviously they do, and this is a very simplified version of it, but I look at that and think this is, to me, the reason why the hash rate just continues to go up, because the economics of it don't support what we're seeing. And this is where we've seen the hash rate lead the price dramatically to the tune of probably 6 months or more. So there's a few things that sort of feel out of kilter to me in that perspective. And then when it comes back to Bitcoin, who's buying, that really is anyone's guess, and that's the fun part, is speculating on who has the ability to drive and purchase that much Bitcoin. Is it a sovereign wealth fund? Is it a government? Is it just Michael Saylor issuing his $42 billion in one tranche and going through and just buying $42 billion worth? Obviously that's not the case, but it's fun to speculate on this. But what we are seeing is a forward trajectory to that place where there is going to be nation-state adoption and adoption from a central bank reserves perspective of Bitcoin. Each day that this sort of buying continues is one day closer to that moment. And that to me represents a pivotal moment. That to me could be the suddenly in the gradually then suddenly debate. I think obviously self-custody is where statistically speaking, where most coins have been lost. So not ensuring that you have a repeatable backup plan for your Bitcoin. Do you have an estate plan protocol that ensures that even if you're not here, you're able to recover your Bitcoin? And have you tested it? And this is the critical thing that I don't think a lot of people do, is they think, oh, great, I've got something in place and I don't want to test it. Some people I don't think want to test it and go through that process because they don't want to know that they maybe don't have the coins that they thought they did. A lot of people want to create a system for their Bitcoin self-custody that is so complex that only they can recover it. And the problem with complexity is that complexity precludes others from being able to repeat the process that they can. And the problem with that is oftentimes, the Bitcoiner can't repeat the process that they've created for themselves. So this is where testing this is so critical. I think it's just a lot of Bitcoiners don't understand the benefits that operating within the legal system will give them. Benefits to from an asset protection perspective. It'll also give them benefits from a taxation perspective. It'll help them mitigate estate taxes. The other thing, and this is the flip side of this, is that's say the argument to not telling anyone about it is, I think that probably one of the most important features of Bitcoin is that it is an immutable ledger that everyone can download. And it's like that journal entry will be on the ledger, on the blockchain in perpetuity. Forever. And so this is the funny sort of trade-off that I think the Bitcoiners who don't want to, play in the, in the realm of this space of, full declaration, the rest of it, need to be aware of is that the considerations I think of is that the Bitcoiners that are in this vintage that are making all of their wealth in Bitcoin, are going to be the ones who are totally committed to Bitcoin. The people who inherit the Bitcoin are going to share the same passion for Bitcoin that, say, you or I have. Our children, just by the very nature of it, won't be as invested as we are in it. What you're asking the second generation to do, if you don't want to declare it, is to become an expert in something that they've got no interest in and to stay ahead of the best technology on earth in finding who owns what on this blockchain. Now, I look at that and think, with the lack of development on the privacy front from Bitcoin's perspective, you're asking them to stay ahead of the world's best on-chain analysts to find you in perpetuity, forever, because the government has forever to catch you, and you've got to maintain and stay ahead of everything that they can come up with. And to me, that's the wrong side of the equation that I want to work with. I don't want to be on that side, because you're forever trying to outrun something that you've got no idea where they're at. And to me, that represents an existential risk to having your, generations of family keep your Bitcoin that you've got.
Peter explains the seismic shift we're witnessing with Bitcoin's hash rate surge. As nation-states recognize Bitcoin's potential as an infrastructure asset, private miners could face stiff competition. Government miners, with nearly unlimited resources and subsidized energy, might push private operators to the margins. This dynamic hints at a future where Bitcoin mining resembles public utilities more than private enterprises. Shifting gears, Peter highlights the critical importance of Bitcoin's self-custody. Many Bitcoiners overlook proper estate planning and testing recovery processes. Stay tuned to discover practical strategies, from irrevocable trusts to collaborative security measures, that not only protect your Bitcoin but also shield it from creditors, taxes, and unforeseen legal risks.
To prevent loss on a personal level, I think collaborative security and what we do offers a huge way to minimise the risk in self-custody. It improves OPSEC. It will help reduce risk of $5 rent attacks. There are so many benefits in collaborative security that I think is just a no-brainer to go through, and I'll get you to add to that further if you wish. The other thing is looking at what are the available legal structures that you can take advantage of to benefit from things like protecting you from creditors or predators. What legal means can you make to protect your Bitcoin? Are there ways and means to ensure that you don't have to pay estate taxes on your death? All of these things are sort of incremental changes in your self-custody setup and how you actually hold your Bitcoin, which can have a significant impact on the amount of Bitcoin that you are able to hold through time and, most importantly, leave to your loved ones. And I look at that and think probably the most underrated vehicle for doing that at this point in time anyway is the irrevocable trust that all of you lovely US citizens have got access to. And I look at that and think that solves a whole range of issues for Bitcoiners, that ensures that not only can you avoid the estate taxes, but you can avoid a whole host of other problems that might crop up, such as litigation or lawfare. And in light of what's gone on in the last few years with the madness in the world, these are steps that every Bitcoiner, I think, who's responsible anyway, should be taking to protect their wealth. Because I often talk about that it's a lot easier making the wealth, and it's very difficult holding it through time. It's very difficult keeping it, because once you've got it, there's a whole host of people who want to take that from you. And it's about making good decisions on through time to ensure that you don't fall victim of losing your wealth. And this is where the legal structures that you've got access to in the US, from a global perspective, are outstanding options relative to anywhere else in the world. I look at your irrevocable trust structures and think, I wish we had such structures in Australia, because one of the key benefits I look at for this is, that enables you to transfer CGT free, so capital gains tax free, from your person to an irrevocable trust and not incur a capital gains tax bill. I look at that and think, that is incredible. I mean, what an opportunity. You get to move your assets from a position of relative weakness because you're totally exposed. You yourself, totally exposed to any lawfare that might be taken upon you personally. And for no cost, from a capital gains perspective, you're able to move that to a legal structure that's going to give you protection against that. I mean, that sounds too good to be true. It's much better taking advantage of it when it's at these prices than when it 10x's from here. And there's going to be a lot of people listening to this right now who, when Bitcoin goes to, the prices that we think it does, those $13 million caps, that could be achieved if, you look at Michael Saylor's prediction with 1 Bitcoin.
Right.
So actioning this sooner rather than later is really important because it's going to preserve more of your wealth through time. So I look at that and think that to me is of utmost importance, is taking action, at least making a phone call. I'm envious of the fact that anyone who's out there who hasn't got into Bitcoin yet, all the things they're going to experience having done that, because everyone in Bitcoin to this date follows a pretty similar path. So I'm extremely excited for what lies ahead of all those who haven't bought Bitcoin yet.
Peter Denworth emphasizes that protecting your Bitcoin is just as vital as owning it. By leveraging legal structures like irrevocable trusts, you can safeguard your wealth from taxes, creditors, and other threats while ensuring a seamless transfer to future generations. Taking action now, while Bitcoin prices are manageable, is the smartest way to secure your financial legacy. Don't wait for Bitcoin to 10x. Start planning today. Remember, preserving wealth over time is just as crucial as building it.